Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Professor Tom Berry. Tom is more than fine. I am your instructor for SOC 201, Introduction to Sociology this term. I'm excited to be working with you throughout the course of the term. I'm here as a resource. Always feel free to drop me an email if you want to set up a meeting, a Zoom meeting, phone conversation at any point during the term to talk about class requirements, things that are going on in the class. Just here to support you in any way that I can. So feel free to use me as a resource. The purpose of this video is to kind of orient you towards the class, to provide information about requirements, expectations, give you a little bit of a preview of how to navigate the class to hopefully make your transition to the class as smooth as possible. Usually it takes, I don't know, a week or two of going through the requirements to get kind of really grounded into the class. And like I said before, if you run into a problem, run into a jam, some difficulties in navigating things, don't struggle, email me and we'll work things out. We'll struggle a little bit, try to figure it out, but if you can't figure it out, I'm here as a resource. This video is for both my remote-based class, as well as the online class. So I will make a distinction here and there in this video for what expectations go with which class. So most of the stuff is, the navigation stuff I want to show is applicable to both classes. So let me kind of start off with just kind of showing you the syllabus. Let me go here. Okay, this is the syllabus for the online class, and in either case, online or remote, I have office hours that are listed. Those are by appointment, so I don't just open up, Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't just open up a Zoom session and hang out there for that period of time. I am available. I will be available during those times, but by appointment or other times. So I'm not bound by those times. I'm flexible. I'm here to respond to you in a reasonable time fashion and just to help you out. The text for the class is the Ferris and Steen, the Real World 7th edition. You can use a previous edition if you can get your hands on one. The access code is not needed for the class. Don't use the access code. You can feel free to navigate through that, but it's not a requirement. If you do use a previous edition, most of the information is going to be similar from the 6th edition. There may be, I can't guarantee everything is going to be the same in terms of some of the quizzes, for example, that are for the online students. They may not, everything may not be covered. I can't guarantee that, but it should be mostly the same. It can save you some money that way as well. Here's the requirements or the outcomes for the class. I kind of walk through some of the general expectations for or outcomes for 201 specifically. So basically an intro to social class, where this first one here is we are going to look at structures in society and look at that interaction between social structures and institutions and individuals and groups. So we'll talk about the micro level, macro level. You read about the micro and macro, and it's really about trying to understand the interplay between the two. Sociology is a discipline that taps into all kinds of different academic areas: anthropology, geography, history, philosophy, political science. It's kind of a real it draws upon a lot of academic disciplines in order to understand this sort of interaction between individuals and groups in society. So sociology, if you want to define it, it's a systematic study of society itself. So we're trying to develop analytical tools to be able to analyze, critique, understand, and ultimately to understand, critique in order to make improvement on the existing social order. So that's kind of the first learning outcome. The second one is we're going to focus on 3 main theories: conflict theory, interactionism, and functionalism. They may also be called, like with conflict theory, maybe called the Marxist perspective, social conflict theory. For interactionism, symbolic interactionism. And for functionalism, structural functionalism. I mean, those words are interchangeable. So we will get grounded the first couple of weeks on these theories, and then we'll build concepts throughout the course of the term, and we'll use these theories and concepts to be able to understand the social world. The key is to understand things like we're looking at a particular theoretical perspective and applying it to a social issue. The key is to think through, how do we think through that social issue using that theoretical tool? So it's not about whether or not you agree or disagree with the particular theory or idea or the analysis from that theory. It's the ability to understand the theory and then to be able to apply the theory. So it's an exercise in really advancing, expanding our perspectives and how we think about the social world. And again, I want to reinforce the idea, it's about analyzing versus taking our own personal beliefs and values and saying what is right and necessarily what is wrong. I mean, sometimes definitely it's important to offer critiques, but it's critiques about kind of the theory, critiques about the application of the theory. The third one is to, kind of related to this, is the evaluate different perspectives, different opinions. A lot of stuff in sociology may challenge common everyday knowledge, common everyday ways of thinking. So for example, in social stratification, we think about inequality. We think about the gap between the top and the bottom, or the stratification in our social world. You know, we need to sometimes critique our common cultural ways of understanding, you know, social stratification. So for example, we believe in the United States strongly in the American dream and ideas of meritocracy. Those who work the hardest, those who are the most well-skilled, have the opportunity and move further up in terms of the hierarchy. It's not that that's not true, but there are limitations to that particular perspective, and that belief that we live in a meritocracy blinds us or limits our ability to look at the structural privileges and disadvantages that exist within the system. So we're trying to, sometimes some of the content we cover is going to challenge our own existing preconceived notions, because we're part of culture. We've been socialized into this culture. So we're just going to step back and try to understand things more systematically. The third one is looking at values and beliefs and traditions, just looking at American culture. And the fifth one is to basically engage in the sociological perspective through formal and informal writing. So the exams and other components of the class. For the online class, you can kind of see here, it's like, you know, there are quizzes, wiki assignments, video lectures, and I'll kind of go through these, and then a midterm and final exam. In the syllabus, you can kind of walk through, you know, the different aspects. I encourage you just to kind of look through that information. The basic needs statement. So if you are struggling in terms of resources, you know, it's a difficult time right now, for sure, for some more than others. We have great resources on campus. Marcus LeGrand, here's his contact information. thrive@cocc.edu is a great resource. And I'll put information in week 0 folder on how to access those resources. So I encourage you to use those resources. That's what they're there for. They're there to support and to help ensure that students can be successful in the courses they take at the college. Information about equal opportunity compliance throughout your experience in COCC. Also ADA compliance, if you have a documented disability, to let me know. Academic honesty is really important. And it can be, you know, in online classes or in remote-based classes where we do more work in terms of a virtual way. Just ensure that you're doing your own work. I encourage you to look at other resources, look at other videos to help understand, but always put information in your own words and your own perspective. Expectations: be engaged, be involved in very important, valuable ways. Use your voice in the class, raise perspective, raise questions, and always do that in a respectful manner. Engage in the principles of community, where we are, and there's a link to resources there, where we value discussion and discourse versus debate versus dispute. Versus attacking the person. We're trying to examine the issue. So that's a very important part of work, whether it's in school or at the workplace or with our family and friends. It's really about trying to make sure we're not antagonizing others and engaging in the material, being strong in our own perspective and respecting other opinions and voices as well. All right, and then there's the class schedule, week by week class schedule. For online students, you have an attendance requirement that's due this Wednesday. by midnight, by 11:59 p.m. So you need to complete that attendance requirement to stay in the class. If you don't complete it, you'll be dropped from the class. I will open up the class probably before the weekend, so you can get in there and complete that requirement if you want. And also, if you run into a problem, just email me, let me know. We can kind of work it out. So rather than going through all these different, the different weeks, and just kind of walk through some of the main requirements. For online students, there are quizzes each week. And the quizzes, let's kind of go here. If I go to, here's the Blackboard, here's weekly schedule. I think this is for the online class. I click on week 1 folder, and you'll see a link to the quiz right there. So I'll give you a lot of time for the quizzes. I'll give you 60 minutes for the quizzes. Use your book, use resources for the quiz. I encourage you to read the text, take some notes. You can spend an hour or so with the chapter, just to kind of get familiar with the content within the chapter. And the quizzes are intended to reinforce kind of some main principles and ideas from the reading itself. Once you start the quiz must be completed, and it has to be completed by 11:59 p.m. So if you're taking the quiz and then 11:59 p.m. comes around on Sunday, it'll save what you did up to that point, and it will kick you out of the quiz. So just make sure you finish by 11:59. And those are all due by Sunday evening. Okay, so with that said, for both, actually, I'm gonna pause here for a second. Or I can't pause. All right, I'm back. Just had to look at something real quick. Okay, so this is within the week 1 folder for online classes. Almost the same. There's a couple exceptions for the remote class, but I'll kind of talk about the common elements. So I put chapter 1 and 2 in the week 1 folder, PDF files of those in case you don't have the book yet. So you have that resource for you to get started. Make sure you get started off on a strong foot there. Each week there will be a video lecture where I provide some main content and main ideas, things that I think are just kind of essential points, or try to provide perspective. I put the PowerPoints in there as well. And then the videos, like I said, are just meant to kind of main ideas, main perspective. And there's a assignment that goes along with each of those different each of those weekly video lectures, and you'll find the requirements right there. So I kind of walk through the main requirements. I'll keep the videos, I don't know, between 25 and 45 minutes, what I put there, somewhere in that ballpark. You can kind of read through the requirements. The main idea is I want you to extract or identify main themes and perspectives. So don't get like too narrow and focus on like one single concept, but main themes and main ideas that are coming through in terms of the lecture itself. And I don't identify in the lecture like here's theme 1, here's theme 2, theme 3, 4, etc. I leave that up to you. It's to identify main themes and ideas. I mean, I'm pretty flexible, so if you're not, you may struggle the first week or two. You may like, okay, what is a main theme? What is a main idea? The important thing is look at big picture pieces. What are the essential ideas that are coming through in terms of the lecture? Identify 4 of those, and for each of those 4, provide 100 to 150 words of explanation, of review, of summary of those particular themes. Include in for each one of those, include the word count either before or after your review of that point. Some of the videos I have, this is point number 3 here. Some of the videos I have a question or a prompt like to respond to. I say, okay, respond this week to this particular question. Don't feel like you need to do that. It's not a requirement. If you want to, feel free to, but it's not a requirement. All of these summaries are due by Turnitin. And there's a link in Blackboard. Each weekly folder has a place I can show you real quick. Like here, lecture summary 1. This is the Turnitin icon, and you just can attach a PDF or a Word document for that. Let's see, where did that go? Let's see. If you run into a problem, then turn it in. And it's Sunday night, email me so it doesn't get counted as late. And then I'll work with you to get it submitted and turn it in. Most people don't have a problem, but if you do, let me know. If you turn it in after the due date, it's 25% grade deduction, and I won't accept things more than a week late. And here's the rubric to go along with the video lectures. So that's that part. Okay, so for the online class, there's going to be a wiki each week, and you're going to get into. I'm going to organize the class into groups 4 to 6 individuals per group. That's where you're going to do your attendance requirement. There's a video on how to start a wiki page. So I encourage you to look at that. There's a link to the your group wikis for the first half of the term. Click on that and it'll walk through and then basically create for the first week, put week 1, your name, or put your name, week 1, introduction. Okay, and then for the wiki for the week, put week 1, geography of bliss, or week 1, who's happy. Put your name, Tom, week 1, so who's happy, or world happiness, something like that. So for each of the wikis, basically the idea of the wiki is I've done, I've taught online before. I've worked with different platforms as far as like the discussion board, and I started moving to doing wiki assignments and group wikis last term, and I think it's so much more effective and valuable, I think, to students, at least how I have it structured. I never could figure out the group discussion board. It always seemed like a hoop to jump through. Wikis can be a little bit like that too, but the idea is it's creating a group that you're with the first half of the term, and then we change the group composition up for the second half of the term. For the wiki, the requirement is to go through the wiki. Let's see if I can come pull it up here. There's a link in week 1 folder for going through the requirements for the group wiki. I can probably show you right here. Here's the requirements for both the post and the responses for the wiki. See if that's the document here. Here we go. So kind of read through this, encourage you to read through this. Your first post is due Thursday, with the exception of the attendance requirement, right, which is due this Wednesday, or due by Wednesday by midnight. Each post is due Thursday. Your initial post is due Thursday. Whoops, I didn't share my screen. Hold on. There we go. So I read through this information. Basically, yeah, your initial post for the week, the one on geography of bliss, is due the Thursday by midnight. That's the initial post. You feel free to post it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, get it done early. And then between Thursday and Sunday is to go into everybody's post in your group and then provide a response. And I provide some kind of, just some ideas about the responses. It can get a little bit repetitive. Reading responses, feel like you're just saying the same thing. I'm looking for at least 1 or 2 like really meaty responses, like you have some good information, you're providing some good reflection. If you provide a couple of them that are really strong, and then you get like, you get to the 3rd or 4th one, you're like, okay, it seems like I'm just repeating myself. At that point, you can write, it's like, great job, appreciate, what you provided, provide a little bit of reflection and call it good. But a couple of responses need to be, at least 2 of them provide some good depth and information. And by that, I mean, try to integrate other things from the chapter, other things from the reading, other things that you're thinking about as you're going through that person's response. And this way, everybody every week, is getting some feedback from each other, and you're developing hopefully a sense of community within your group. I put some information here about the codes of conduct, academic honesty. The principles of community are really important. So engage in providing responses, critique each other, and respect each other as well at the same time. If you, after Sunday, I grade these usually early in the week. So I'll grade them. If your responses aren't there by that time or your post, then you won't receive credit for that. I don't go back to previous weeks. And here's a rubric for the wikis. Okay, so that's that component. Let's see what else. Okay, going back to the video lecture and turn it in. So in turn it in, sometimes I will provide audio feedback. Sometimes I'll provide written feedback. in either case, if you want more information or you're still, it's like trying to figure things out and want more feedback, let me know. If you don't receive the audio feedback or the written feedback, let me know as well. I'll put a link in the week 1 folder on how to access your feedback. Make a note to myself about that. I've had students before that, I asked them at the end of the term, providing feedback about the class, do they appreciate the audio feedback? And overwhelmingly, most everyone appreciates the audio feedback. It's a great way I can provide a lot more information, and it's a more engaging format providing information. Every once in a while, there'll be a student who says, I never received the audio feedback. I didn't know how to access it. And that just breaks my heart because it's a great way to get feedback. I spent a lot of time on providing that feedback, and I think it's valuable to you. So if for some reason you're not getting the feedback, let me know and we can get that figured out. No problem at all. I think the last thing to communicate is email notifications. So make sure, I'll post announcements in Blackboard every week. And when I provide announcements in Blackboard, you should get a notification about any update in terms of Blackboard. If you're not receiving them, check to make sure that you're not blocking Blackboard from whatever device you're using to get information. You can contact eLearning if you have any questions, elearning@cocc.edu. They can help you navigate that as well. But make sure you're getting email notifications. I'm not sure if there's a way to get notifications on when people respond to your wiki. I'll try to find out about that. I'm not sure about that particular component, but make sure your notifications are on. So that way you're getting the most up-to-date information for the class. One of the last things regarding the wiki, and this is for the online class as well. Usually what I do when I grade the wikis, for the most part, what I do is I provide I review the wiki, all the posts, all the responses, and I provide kind of a detailed summary back to the whole group. And every once in a while, if there's some, if there's questions or there's a reason for me to provide, I reach out to a particular student because they're struggling for whatever reason, then I'll send a particular email through Blackboard to that student. But I'll send a group email to the group for that. Again, that's why that notification, make sure you're getting emails from Blackboard, because I send emails through Blackboard, oftentimes, not always through email. So if you have that turned off, you're not going to be receiving those emails. So that's an important part. Okay, I think that is it. I think I covered everything I needed to cover. Best wishes to you. I hope you're doing well. Here's to a great term. And yeah, keep me posted if you have any questions. All right, take care.